Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to our final bit of coverage here with the Curious Realm at MUFON Symposium 2023. We have with us our new guest and good friend, Mindy Tautfest. She is the author of Dying to Meet Them, a story of near-death experience that led to UFO experience. How have you been doing?
Doing good. I've been having a great time here at the symposium.
Tell us a few of the things that you got to sit in on and check out. I know you were part of the state directors meeting because you're actively the state director for Oklahoma. So how did that go?
I actually I spoke there about the MUFON University that we're launching here in the next couple of weeks. We finally have everything together.
A couple weeks? It's that close?
Yes, it's that close. We'll be using our new Form 30 where we actually work our UFO investigation. So we've completely reworked that to include things that we can do now, our new capabilities to be able to check flight radar and to be able to check the media reports and everything. That's right at our fingertips now, where it wasn't whenever MUFON was initially formed back in 69. So now we're bringing it up to current standards, and now with the university, we're teaching to that new form and incorporating all of that and teaching new people how to look up that kind of information and document it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I myself have quite a few things for my backyard astronomy, things like that, where I can track the sun and the moon back Lord knows how far. I can just put in a date, and it'll show me where the position of the sun and moon was on that day where I'm at. Pretty cool stuff.
Well, and it's helpful for people that are having active sightings. So if you see something in the sky, you can bring up these apps. You can go to Weather Underground. You can go to Heavens Above. You can go to any kind of satellite
Google Sky Map, what have you,
exactly,
to see.
And rule out just right on the spot. Oh, okay, well, that's flight number whatever, or, well, that's actually Betelgeuse that's twinkling at me. And then it helps cut down the false identifications and really zeroes in on the truly strange and anomalous.
Yeah, precisely, because that's kind of one of the things that I do whenever I go to a targeted individual's house, things like that. The first thing they always want is frequencies. And my first thing is always, let's pull out the gas meter.
Right.
Let's pull out the radon detector. Let's start getting rid of known quantitatives until we leave the anomaly, and now we will investigate that.
That's exactly it. That's why you're going to be a great MUFON investigator.
I'm hoping to be a member of the STAR team. We'll see if we make it that far.
Definitely.
I've definitely got a lot of toys that I can bring to the table, let's just say. But let's get into that a little bit. How does somebody go about becoming a MUFON investigator?
Well, they become a member. Membership's about $60 a year for a basic membership, and they have other levels. You can be enhanced. So if you get the enhanced membership, you get access to MUFON television and all the great stuff that Ron James is doing over there. And I believe the symposium would be up on there, too.
Yeah, I was going to say, you get copies of the symposium feed, all the speeches, everything else. Somebody was just asking me about how to access that earlier.
I'm going to be accessing that when I get home. I haven't had a chance really to sit in on any of the speakers.
And that's what I was asking you and Seb about the other day. Like, hey, if you want to come on and tell us a little bit behind the scenes, what else went on behind doors? Because frequently I'm out here gathering interviews and chasing people, and I frequently don't get to step inside the doors. I'll step in the back and check out 5-10 minutes of something while I'm waiting for a speaker and then come back. So that I had a chance to at least hear everybody talk a little, especially if I have them on the show. But, I don't, like whenever I'm doing Texas Bigfoot Conference, like, I'm on the other side of the wall, man. I don't get to hear all the talks.
I know. Isn't it awful? And then we go home, and then we spend another, several hours being able to actually listen to everybody that we've been talking to behind the scenes.
Exactly.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it because I know our Oklahoma State meeting this month will actually focus on the symposium and highlighting the different speakers and everything. So I always enjoy going back and reviewing and taking notes and being able to share that even with a greater audience through our Oklahoma meeting.
I really can't wait to hear the entire presentation from Avi Loeb. I got to hear part of it.
Yes.
And it was awesome. It was fantastic. And to hear his opinions on what's going on right now are
absolutely
really
well,
really
and then some of the senators that joined us and all the exciting things that are going on within the government right now and all the things that MUFON's doing with the government right now with briefing them and the things that A10 is bringing to the table. I mean, we've got some exciting things going on.
it's remarkable, some of the exciting things going on, and a lot of the strides that have been made just over the last couple years. Like we mentioned earlier, that not many people realize that a lot of the questions that came in that first Senate panel were curated from MUFON cases,
yes.
were curated from MUFON questions for the scientists.
And Dave is working his tail off. He's back and forth to D.C. all the time and briefing them and sharing information that we have here of what we've been seeing and coming into our database, and just some of the history that needs clarification. And so these guys are listening, and they're bringing that to the table.
Yeah.
To the greater Congress and everything, to bring that to the public. So I know that some people were not so happy with the recent hearings and stuff, but it's going to be baby steps. We're getting there.
Yeah. I challenge them this. Feel free to go watch more congressional hearings on other things, and I guarantee you'll be much more ticked about those than you are about this.
Yes, yes.
Because this is amazing and awesome that it even hit the floor of Congress to begin with.
Right.
Period.
Well, and I'll tell you, we have been seeing a surge in membership since then. And you had asked about becoming a field investigator. So if someone wants to be a field investigator, we need field investigators, because the cases are many and the workers are few.
Yeah.
Even with 600 around the world, we are still being overloaded.
Poor Thiago. I had him on earlier, and I was like, you are the sole contact in Brazil?
I know.
One of the largest swaths of sightings in the world. I was like, I will pray for you daily, Thiago.
I'll tell you.
The daunting task in front of you.
One of the really cool things that came out of behind the doors meetings for the state director meeting with MUFON University, we are going to be able to, we're looking into right now, feeding in a software where all of that will now be translated into any language. And so
awesome.
If you're in Brazil, if you're in China, we'll have Spanish, we'll have Mandarin, we'll have, French Canadian.
Yeah.
And the French are really kind of heading that up because there's a big translation problem there. But once we can break down that barrier, we're going to open it up to the world where it doesn't matter what language you speak. You'll be able to research UFOs for MUFON. And, we'll be getting more of those sightings.
That's fantastic.
Every month we get sightings reports, and we get the numbers for, where they're coming in. And it's always, a ton of them from America. But it's not reflective of what's really happening out there.
Yeah.
And we will be moving into where we're getting a much greater idea of what's happening worldwide.
Exactly. So, and there are so many things out there right now. So many communities doing things, contributing to this knowledge. I was telling you the other night, I got a MADAR system at home to find magnetic anomalies in my area, all kinds of things. The one thing I am really excited to see happen is the day that y'all release AI into the realm of the database. The day y'all start incorporating AI to cull through this since 1969 field of data, the things that are going to pop up, Mindy, are going to be crazy.
Yes.
The trends that are going to pop up are going to change things. They're going to change things, absolutely.
And one of the things that you might have heard them speak about was this whole Mars project that's being launched, and all of the databases that we are combining. I believe NICAP is giving over 100,000 cases or so. And by the time they're done, we have archives from mega researchers that we're going to be adding in all of their files, and just libraries. There's going to be almost 1 million cases that are going to be within the MUFON archives under the Mars project. So that's a huge thing that they're working on right now.
That is massive. That is a massive amount of data to cull through.
Oh, yeah.
And a beautiful amount of data to cull through.
I know. And combine that with the power of AI.
Yeah. Yeah, and once again, as we've said so many times on this show during this symposium, the fact of reports confirm reports. It's never too late to give your report.
Absolutely.
Your report may confirm what 2 or 3 other people said 20 years ago.
Yes.
And that is important. for trending, for catching all kinds of information that is hugely important.
Absolutely.
So it's never too late to give your report.
I actually ran into that with there across Oklahoma in the central U.S. during 1965. There was a huge flap that happened from July 31st to August 2nd, and I was researching it and speaking with my mother about it, and she actually had a sighting that summer. During 1965, her and my aunt were outside, and they saw a craft at treetop level, and this was during an outbreak of thousands of sightings there in that region within that 3-day period. And so just to even learn from within my own family of a new sighting that she's telling me about that confirms all of this that was going on at that time. So you're absolutely right. Any little bit of information helps, and it helps to confirm what was seen, when it was seen, who was seeing it, where.
What was seen, and it's all hugely important to trim the pieces of the puzzle together. You know, to find out where they fit. And with that in mind, how has the relationship between Arrow and MUFON been?
That's an interesting question. That'd be more one aimed for a A10. Yeah, I've been more on the behind-the-scenes stuff, working with the university and the training and stuff. But, you know, now that the university is being launched, I might have some free time to direct to other things. So.
Yeah, it's been great to see Arrow come about, and to see at least it's funny to me whenever I hear people saying like we finally have a unified way to report. It's like no, we've had a unified way to report for a long time.
Yes, we have.
These other people are just catching up to having a unified way of reporting.
Yeah,
like MUFON has been around since '69. There has been a unified way to report something.
Yeah.
Even NICAP has a pretty unified way to submit a report.
Yeah.
You know, and that is hugely important, the process of how things are reported, why things are reported.
Right.
And the follow-up that happens and the splitting off of cases to different teams, things like that, whether it's a STAR team or an ERT team going to visit somebody.
And
it's
that's
fantastic.
That's one of the great things, even like within the last 5 years or so, just seeing the growth within MUFON and being able to utilize some of these new technologies and really looking at the different aspects of the phenomena to be able to, you know, cater to the different types of experiencers. So, you know, a normal field investigator can look at a light in the sky, but someone who's had multiple abductions and might be struggling with that, they can go to the ERT and they can find community there and support. And with the STAR team, I mean, those are our most advanced investigators, and these are the ones that are going to be responding to crash sites, landing sites, and things like that. And we can collect evidence and send it off to our lab.
How frequent? And I love the fact that there is now officially a MUFON lab.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, that makes my heart sing so much.
Yeah.
At what point does something get turned over to the STAR team? At what point do you send people out to start gathering physical evidence?
Well, STAR team actually kind of had gone defunct. That was something that came up whenever we were working with Bigelow. And now Dave just announced here at the symposium that we will be relaunching the STAR team. And so, you know, we'll have to see how all that unfolds. I know there's still discussions about how exactly that's going to work within the framework. I think it's going to change a little bit from the way that it was set up before.
Sure.
But, yeah, I mean, we'll see within the next year how that unfolds. But I'm excited that the STAR team's coming back.
I am excited to hear that as well because it's such an important facet of the gem of research. You've got to be able to go out and especially the fact of being able to examine the evidence yourself.
Right.
Being able to keep it in-house, make sure it doesn't get lost, make sure it doesn't get miscategorized, thrown on a shelf somewhere.
Yep.
Forgotten about. Documents end up getting corrupted in transit, what have you.
Kudos needs to be paid to Missouri MUFON because Debbie Ziegelmeyer and Lynn Mann, who's our chief analyst, they have put their own money into that. They have built that thing up from the ground, and they are doing incredible work there. Terry lygne-kehl, my good friend, she's about to go on pretty soon, and she'll be speaking about how the lab assisted in her own case in analyzing the DNA that she collected from a reptilian she encountered that actually healed her. And So Lynn's done things all from DNA sequencing. She's working on 2 big cattle mutilation cases from Oklahoma right now, and she's been able to prove amazing things with that. We know that this was not any kind of predator. It's not human-generated.
Somebody searching for sweetmeats or something like that in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And we just recently had a couple of cases in Texas that popped up. Over in the East Texas area, and I thought it was funny that the sheriffs eventually went to social media.
Yeah, before they got shut down by the FBI.
To look for help. Yeah. Their investigation was fully shut down.
Yes.
It was interesting to see that.
Yeah, and the Oklahoma cases happened right at the same time, and for whatever reason they didn't cross the border.
And to hear David Paulides the other night talking about craft tracking food sources, watching food sources, watching our interaction with food sources. It's pretty interesting to dig into.
Yeah, that can get dark pretty quick.
Very meaty and dark topic. It's kind of scary to think how much there is to dig into.
Yes.
Because there's a lot. There's a lot. And once again, it's one of those, is the Park Service fully aware or covering up, because there's some weird cases going on and some wild stuff. And to see that, yes, the cattle mutilations recently, those investigations were randomly just shut down.
Yeah. Well, when does the FBI get involved?
Yeah.
And, I mean, the ranchers there went quiet. I mean, they weren't talking after that happened.
Yeah, I actively have some pictures that one of my listeners sent me from the Texas cases. I'll show them to you after.
Okay,
Pretty detailed, pretty wild stuff.
I'd like to compare it to the one that I responded to there in Oklahoma.
Exactly, because the similarities, once again, to see that kind of stuff. And, I mean, Linda Moulton Howe has been pioneering that work since I know of.
Yeah, she actually weighed in on the Oklahoma case. She had contacted me, and so did Christopher O'Brien, and both of them have been so wonderful to work with and, lead me along and saying, hey, make sure to check for this or that because they're the best in the field.
Yeah.
And they were so excited that MUFON is now stepping up and analyzing the cattle mutilations and stuff. Both of them sent me copies of their books. They both sent me, Linda sent me both of her videos, and I can't give them enough kudos and thanks for all of their assistance with our case here.
She has been hip deep in the world of cattle mutilation since the 70s.
You can't beat her.
There is nobody that knows more about the topic.
Yeah.
And it's a strange topic when you start rabbit holing into it.
It is.
Some of the things that are there, some of the situations that have happened. It's really wild.
It is, wild. And I think that it'll be a while before the government comes forward with that.
Were there any sighting cases or encounter cases tying together with the mutilations in Oklahoma?
Not really. The rancher themselves had seen a couple of things around that area prior, but it was the same rancher that got hit twice. And it was a really strange case because the first cow was a Holstein that got mutilated, and we responded within a few hours, went and got samples and everything. And the next day she texted me and said, "You're not going to believe this. The udders are gone." And the udders had been removed the same way that the cheek flesh had been removed, and the tongue and the eye and the rectum being cored out. And so I had her put a trail cam on it and watch it. And that next night there was a fog that kind of settled over that cow. So she went ahead and buried it a couple days later. And then within 5-6 days she contacts me again. "You're not going to believe this. There's another one." And this one was a mini zebu bull that had been... She found dead. She had seen it 20 minutes before. And by the time she discovered it, they heard 2 large crack sounds right outside their window. And they found it about 30 feet outside of their house. And it already had rigor. The legs were already stiff.
Wow.
And there was no mutilation on this. And so we weren't quite sure what exactly had happened to it until she went to move it. And whenever she moved it, both of the horns fell. So they had broken off at the base of the skull, and she has a video where she was just, rolling them around. And our lab analyst was able to calculate that it would have had to been dropped from 300 feet in order for both of those horns to break off the way that they did.
Yeah. Because that is a hard mineralized bone.
Yes. And one might break off from time to time, just as part of the natural process. But the way that they were cracked off there right at the base, and they were still within the skin socket,
Well, even the fact of deer, anything like that, they shed their horns.
Yes.
But it takes something different to break a deer antler.
Right. Exactly.
It takes a totally different amount of force than when they naturally shed. Same thing with bull horns or anything like that. So
so it's a different process, and you can see the fracture pattern and so like I said, it's still in the lab right now, but Lynn has been able to tell that yes, this was cut using an instrument that it's not a medical grade instrument. This is something other, and it has very definite signs of it on the flesh that we had removed and sent off to
cauterizing and things like that.
Yes,
man. So entirely incredible and wild. It's remarkable to me the number of cases like that there are out there, and the number of reports that there are out there that, like you said, do get buried by media. They do get buried by law enforcement, specifically the FBI, which is just strange.
Well, and the government's not even beginning to breach it, I mean, right now we're still talking about lights in the sky, and I guess Grush is bringing forward that, yes, there are biologics. So we're getting there. Eventually the cattle mutilation will be entering the stage as well, but it may be a while before we actually hear any talk of it in Congress.
Yeah, well, I think we have to get people to the point of accepting UFO UAP to begin with.
Right.
Before we can dig the hole deeper. Let's make sure that we've curated a ramp.
Right. Well, I guess you got to go in layers of freak out ability, because there's something that's physical craft.
Yeah.
Okay, now there are things piloting the craft, and here's what the things piloting the craft are doing.
It's just the fact of if you don't build a ramp out of the hole, then you're just pushing people down a hole of very deep information instead of slowly bringing them
frog,
down. Exactly. You're not going to throw a frog into a pot of hot water; he'll jump right out.
Yep.
And that's very much the mentality that we're coming up against right now, with the idea of cognitive dissonance taking over with some people, that they have been told for so long that this is not, and that it can't be.
But it's interesting.
And now,
do you get on TikTok?
I am not yet.
TikTok is my guilty
pleasure. I've been told I need to get on UFO
You do.
TikTok and UFO Twitter.
You do.
That is where it's at.
Twitter, whatever. TikTok. You've got to get on there. So my children are 16 and 14. So I'm the hip mom. I'm on there. I'm not making videos. I tried a couple of it, and they weren't that great, and I took them down.
Not the flosser.
No, I didn't do it. No. But on TikTok, they're reaching this whole new generation, and it's funny to see their reaction to the hearings and everything, and they're like, yeah, aliens are real. But none of them, oh, you're tired. I know. We stayed up too late for several nights. It's okay. I was yawning so bad earlier, too. We're almost there.
We're on the
couple
home
more
stretch.
Hours, man.
Home stretch,
we'll go
Mindy.
home and take a good nap. But on TikTok, these younger generation, they're not worried about it. They're worried about paying their bills. They're like, yeah, aliens are real. Okay, move on.
Yeah, we got bigger things to worry about.
We can't buy houses and, all of the things that are affecting our younger generations right now. I mean, from the millennials on. And it's a very different reaction than we see from, like, the baby boomer and older generations, which, I mean, there's very good people within the baby. I mean, Terry's my favorite person.
Yeah.
But
well, there was definitely, especially when you're looking at late 40s, early 50s, you're still very much talking about media entrenchment with the military.
Yeah, Project Grudge, and I mean, they did a darn good job.
Absolutely. Even looking to things like Operation Mockingbird, stuff like that, having operatives embedded in the media,
right?
To push paradigm and to push stories. It's always been funny to me how what was it? Not 2012, but it was the last NDAA that President Obama signed on his way out.
Okay.
Included funding for the Office of Anti-Propaganda Propaganda.
Oh, my goodness.
It's like, why don't you just call it a propaganda office, dude? Anti-propaganda is still propaganda.
Yes. Oh, my gosh.
But it's there, and it's
How
funded,
funny.
and it's an actual office.
Yeah.
It's an actual thing. So, yeah.
How do I
it's
get
like,
hired?
we are still, I keep waiting for the day
the anti-propaganda
that
stuff,
when the
let's clear it
regime
out.
happens, believe me, I will have a job.
Yeah.
They will recruit me for my AV skills immediately.
Absolutely, you're
hey,
the best.
Come into the machine. But yeah, it's one of those, the didactic of conversation going on. I regularly bring up the fact whenever people are like, "Oh, crop circles are fake." Well, maybe a lot of modern crop circles, but you know what they weren't busy doing in the 1500s? Destroying half a crop of wheat.
Yeah.
Like they were worried about not dying from the Black Plague.
Yeah.
You know, and paying their bills to the king.
You know what's funny? Were you able to sit
so
in
we're right
last
back.
night?
We're right back
Yes,
to
we
that
are.
part of the conversation.
Were you able to sit in on Accidental Truth? Have you been able to see it yet?
I've been able to see part of it. Yeah, on MUFON TV. Everything else.
We were in there watching it last night, and Michio Kaku, he had quoted someone else, so I'm going to quote Michio quoting someone else. But I love it, and I'm holding on to this. And it said, "Those who say don't know, and those who know don't say."
Yeah,
exactly.
Precisely. And, it is still very much I laugh all the time, especially going to the Remote Viewing Association, things like that. So many people that I've met and now personally know involved in, the Stargate project, things like that, the government remote viewing program. And people like Hal Puthoff, who, when I asked him for an interview last year, he was like, I'd love to come on your show, but I'm read on to so many topics, it's hard for me to talk sometimes on a show.
I bet so.
And it's absolutely true. Because
now, can I say that? Or
well, it's the fact of once you're read on to certain topics, they keep you read on so that you can never talk about that topic that you were talking about 30, 40 years ago.
Right.
They keep you read into these communities so that does keep pushed down, so that that research does stay in the background until it's ready to come out. So there are still those active campaigns of keeping people read on, even though they're like 70-something years old and fully retired from their full-time work.
Yeah. That's one of the great things that's coming out of the hearing.
Read on as a consultant.
Yes,
so that
Grush now is naming names behind the doors, and
there was a lot of talk about skiff. There was a lot of talk about we step into a private soundproof room, you'd be surprised the things I tell you.
Yep.
And that has been my conversation with people who even are non-believers on my show. The fact of, are you down with accountability?
Right.
Because that's the base question, and that's what we're getting to right now, is if we can follow that money trail.
That's it.
If we can follow the money trail that Grush is talking about, then we can get to the SAPs and the back doors of the SAPs.
Well, I'm hearing talk of subpoenas now. Let's see.
It would be epic. Unfortunately, from what I understand, what was the good senator's name who was heading up, very young senator who was heading up the Grush hearing? He has apparently been removed from the panel. The one who was saying, we will enact the Monroe Act, we will revoke your funding. If we come to your doorstep and you don't give us answers, we're going to hold you responsible. He's apparently not on the panel.
Well, you can see
anymore.
what they're up against.
Yeah,
I think
precisely.
that there are two factions right now we're seeing battle it out on the public stage, and
it's great to see so many young faces from the Senate involved with it.
It is
because it means that the folks that have been entrenched in this topic for a long time and read on to things, are moving out. New people are moving in.
That's it. I think people our generation are just tired of it. Let's get
we're
rid
sick
of the
of it.
secrecy.
Sick of it.
This affects all of humanity.
Absolutely.
Let's talk openly and move on to a new era.
Precisely.
We're done with it.
Precisely. And I want to thank you for, the conversations privately and on screen.
Yeah.
It's been great. It's been heart and eye-opening to me. And it's fantastic just to be here, be able to speak with experiencers from two different tables like you who do see that these worlds are merging. These sciences and these researches are merging. And it's really exciting and remarkable to see that they're almost all running in the same vein now, and it's only a matter of time until these others are addressed. Even like we were talking about privately, the fact that the Bigelow Institute is backing research into near-death studies, things like that. Like,
pretty interesting.
Those dudes find some answers.
I noticed that looking, from the UFO to the NDE.
Yeah,
follow the money, and you'll see there's some kind of connection there that not just myself is seeing.
That's it. Well, before we let you go, look there at the camera. Let everybody know where they can go to get your copy of Dying to Meet Them, your story of NDE to UFO experiencer, and where they can go to find out more about MUFON Field Investigation and MUFON University.
Yeah, you can go to MUFON.com to sign up to be a member, and if you want to be a field investigator, you can go and sign on, contact the state director, and they will lead you down that path. It's a little bit involved, but we'll get you through it, and we need great field investigators. Everyone has something to offer.
That's right.
As far as me, I sold out all my books the first day, so I guess I'll have to bring more for next symposium.
That's right.
You can find my book on Amazon.com. It's called Dying to Meet Them, and my name is Mindy Tautfest. You can visit my website, mindytautfest.com, and I have a link there on there as well, and some of the information about MUFON.
Great. Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time at the end of this very busy MUFON Symposium.
I know.
I know you have been stacked and stacked and stacked with responsibilities here, so I greatly thank you for the time on air.
Well, thank you for the time off air.
Absolutely.
I mean, you've become a great friend, and I appreciate you, Chris.
Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate that, Mindy. While you are online checking out all of the amazing work and buying your copy of Dying to Meet Them by Mindy Tautfest at mindytautfest.com, make sure to stop on by curiousrealm.com. That's where you can find our bookstore full of books from all of our guests. That's where you can find tools to investigate the paranormal, all kinds of things. curiousrealm.com/store will get you there. You can also go to curiousrealm.com for all of the episodes, all of our social media, like, follow, subscribe, share, all that good stuff, folks. We will be right back after our commercial break here with our final few minutes of coverage, wrapping up MUFON Symposium 2023 right here in Covington, Kentucky after this.